For years, you probably have heard that franchises have a 90 to 95% success rate compared to small businesses, we'll say mom and pop. And that sounds almost too good to be true, right? Guess what? It is. So in 1987, actually the International Franchise Association released the stat, as those of us in franchising called it, that kind of shared this. They actually completely retracted it in 2005 and asked people to stop using it. But as we all know, once it's on the internet, it never goes away, right? Okay, that's a great stat, and that number really is too good to be true. However, the real numbers aren't that bad, and so I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit around the success rate and some proven industry standards around franchising. So there are some stats out there that say about 90% of the franchises that were started were still in business 2 years later, and about 85% were still in business 5 years later. So good stat, and I think kind of important because it's super easy to start a business. It's a heck of a lot harder to stay in business. And so let's look at more of the longevity and where the kind of points are in franchising. So kind of to compare that, 80% of small businesses survive the first year, 50% are still in business after 5 years, but by 10 years, 2/3 of independent businesses have failed. And so we have to try to understand where are the pain points in staying in business and how can we address them. Now, in my opinion, some of the pain points of staying in business are addressed by the support of a franchisor, someone else that's basically out there on your side with a vested interest in your success. One of my favorite things about franchising is kind of the power of collective learning. How I refer to it is kind of the hive mind. Think about you have 200 or 400 franchise owners. That's a lot of different skill sets. It's a wealth of experiences and backgrounds that are kind of contributing to that brand. And so a good franchisor is going to tap into that hive mind, and they're going to use the collective intellect of those franchise owners in order to have all of them do better. And so think about that fact and that benefit. So you're not only getting the mentorship of the franchisor and the management team and that corporate structure, but you're also getting this very unique benefit of the collective mind helping to apply their skill set and background to particular instances that they have, we'll say, more experience. And that collection of alternatives and successes and experiences get applied to the entire system, and it raises all ships. Let's talk a little bit too about the collective bargaining power within a franchise. So at first, little baby brands might not be able to offer this, but as that brand grows, there becomes a collection of buying power. And so I think about brands, for example, the Neighborly brand or these big home services brand, they actually have flexed their muscles a little bit, and their franchise owners get very deep discounts because of the fact that there's thousands of them out there purchasing vehicles, equipment, and services that does substantially affect their bottom line. It also makes them able to give better pricing to their customers because of the fact that they're not paying as much. Think about it, they're not paying as much for that lawnmower as the mom and pop coming out and mowing the lawn, because they're paying less, because they have that buying power, they have a little bit more room in their margins and in their offering. So it's something that shouldn't be ignored in franchising, the power of the system. Let's talk a little bit about the economic downturns, right? No business is completely recession-proof. Certain models have shown resiliency during tough times, and I think a good example is of the 2008 recession. Many businesses struggled. Franchise categories in commercial landscaping, home improvement, even budget-friendly food options actually saw growth. Why? Well, the fact that those services remain necessary and they have the ownership group, the management group giving input to these small business owners, they were able to tighten their belts, choose where to save and where to flex a little bit and lean in order to have that business withstand the storm. A well-run franchise system is simply better equipped than an independent business. Remember, there's so many people. There's an army of people behind these small business franchise owners that are attempting to help that owner be successful. You just don't get that in a mom and pop business. Let's talk a little bit also and not ignore the exit strategy when you're ready to sell your business. There is value in a franchise system. Franchises often sell for a higher multiple than an independent business. Why? Well, the buyers aren't just purchasing the location and that revenue, but they're buying into a proven system, ongoing training, ongoing support, a horizon for growth. And so I think another thing to keep in mind is that the franchisors are monitoring the books. They're monitoring how that business is performing. And yes, they're giving advice, but they're also, the books are just cleaner. One of the things when we talk about buying an existing business is that when you're buying from a mom and pop, yes, I want you to trust the books, but you're also having to read a little bit between the lines. You're needing to ask more questions of that existing business owner. If he's been in business for 10 years, chances are there's some things that aren't necessarily all buttoned up in his financials. Maybe he has never even used QuickBooks and he's old school and he's just writing it out on a ledger in a spreadsheet. I'm not saying that's the case, but I am saying it's a little easier to evaluate a franchise system than it is to evaluate a mom and pop business because of the fact that there have been other inputs into those financials, and that person has gotten consistent business, P&L, balance sheet, coaching throughout the life of that brand. The other thing that I think makes the franchise more attractive at an exit is the fact that a mom and pop business owner can very easily kind of take the money and, I don't want to say run, but they can take the money and run. There's nothing, that says maybe beyond 6 months or even a couple months into that business that says that they're going to be responsible for helping the new business owner. It can be papered, but no matter what, there's going to be a stopping point in support there of that exiting business owner. With a franchise system, that new owner is coming in and they're getting the value of that business and whatever the base of business is and the sales process and that type of thing. But there's also a handoff. They're getting trained in best practices from that franchisor. The franchisor is actually excited to have a new business owner to come in, put some gusto into that business, and now scale it to the next level. That franchisor is still there. Marketing, horizon, sales process, things are changing, and that franchisor is there. It's a new owner, but it's an existing system. And so there's a lot of value and a lot of peace of mind that goes into when you're buying a franchise system. Even if it's been in business, you're also buying a franchise system of support. Now, let me be clear. Franchising is not a silver bullet. It's not a guarantee for success. It requires hard work, dedication, the ability to follow a system, and also though the ability to run a business and think independently. You're going to get training. The franchisor is going to help you every step of the way. The right person in franchising is going to thrive. I can introduce you to hundreds of franchise owners who have drastically increased their net worth with a franchise system, okay? The right person in franchising needs to be able to humble themselves a little bit, understand that the system is there, it's proven, let's follow it before you start flexing your muscles and try to change things. Let's talk. If you're intrigued by this, if you think maybe, not definitely, and I don't really know what I want, that's actually the person that I work best with. So if you've always wanted to own your own business and you're just not 100% sure what the best business is for you, let's start there. The education of learning about the franchise system, learning about how that system supports business ownership and supports you is an excellent opportunity just to learn and find out and make sure you're not saying no to something that truly could be the biggest opportunity of your life.